Every morning you have two choices. Continue to sleep with your dreams or wake up and chase them. Today I want to share with you about what happened when I woke up and started chasing a dream. It really started with the lipstick. And actually, I have to pause for a second because I forgot someone last night on this stage. In 2015, our first $1 million year, my grandmother, Grandma Deedle, many of you know her, was on this stage. And let me just tell you, at 99 years young, she was not here on the stage, but she was watching all of the pictures and she was taking note of everything. And I have to say, speaking of lipstick, on the last day of June, with all those people at my house, my Grandma Deedle called and she said, darling, would it help if I ordered a powerful pink lipstick so you could finish your goal? And I said, yes, Grandma, it would. And then she asked me for the bill and I was like, I can't make my grandma pay for a powerful pink lipstick. So it was on the house, but it helped us finish our goal. So the power of a lipstick, right? Back to the real story, just one. And in this case, this was a posh pink lipstick. Does anyone remember that True Dimensions color? Yeah. So it was 4 years ago and I had a customer named Laura reach out. She wanted to find a new lipstick color. It was such a busy day, but I knew it was the right thing to make time for her. She sat at my kitchen table later that afternoon and for the record tried on about 20 different colors. But as she tried them on one after the other, she started telling me about how years ago she had taken her son on a trip when he was 14, just the two of them, and how significant it was to see him through new eyes through that experience. At that critical age, she was crossing from boy to man, and the bond they shared during the trip helped grow their relationship. She had her son plan the trip and then be in charge of navigating directions, paying for meals, and taking care of her while out of the country. The life skills, plus the adventure and the memories they both still carry with them. As I listened, my eyes filled with tears. My Brayden was just 10 years old at the time. And picturing you, Brayden, as a teenager seemed so far away. But I tucked that thought in my heart and I thought, maybe someday. Then came the pandemic and wow, did that rock all of our worlds. It was just a matter of survival in all areas of life. And dreaming took a back seat. We didn't know if the doors of this company would shut or if our business model would be sustainable, let alone managing our own personal fears and worries. No wonder dreams had to be put on pause. The problem was, for many of us, we didn't press play again. And that was the case for me. And as many of you know, I found myself totally dream depleted, dream deficient, and I sat down at my computer on January 2nd, 2021, for a virtual jumpstart event. Thank the Lord for events, right? I finally had an awakening though of how lost I was, how I was just going through the motions, and I wasn't working with any sort of purpose or passion. In fact, I've now started calling those moments pain points. And the good news is, we can turn our pain points into purpose points. What if the trial or the obstacle or challenge or heartbreak could actually be a turning point? Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? We could start asking, why is this happening for me and for others? I want to challenge you with the thought that you may have been assigned to this mountain to show others that it can be moved. And in that pain point moment of feeling hollow and hopeless, I woke up. I knew that deep down having a dream was the key. The problem was, I didn't know what to dream about. That's how bad it had gotten. So as the story goes, I did the only thing I knew to do, and that was to Google it. So I Googled dreams for women, bucket list items for women, and I scrolled and I scrolled, and I finally found something, and I don't even remember what it was, and I wrote it down in my notebook. A few scrolls later, I found another, and then another after that. Then I couldn't stop. There were so many things worth dreaming about. I heard a quote the other day, what is a human without dreams? And I started coming alive. And it was that moment I remembered the posh pink lipstick. I called then 12-year-old Brayden into my office in that very moment and I said, guess what? I've got a dream. I guess when you're a Mary Kay mama, they don't look at you too crazy when you say that, but I said, Brayden, this time you're part of it. We're gonna go on a trip, just the two of us, and you get to pick anywhere in the world. and my Mary Kay business profits are going to pay for it. Last night, he was sitting watching the Court of Sales go across the stage, and he looked at me, he said, "Now, what exactly is that?" I said, "Oh, Braden, as they walked across the Court of Sales, that means that they sold this amount to their customers." And I looked at him, I go, "Wait a minute, that Court of Sales, that's why you got to go on that trip, Braden." So all of you crossing this Court of Sales, I hope that was attached to a dream like it was for me. But yeah, congratulations to all of you on those National Court of Sales. So when I said anywhere in the world, he looked at me with huge wide eyes and he said, "Anywhere?" And then he said, he didn't even know where to start. It's a big old world out there. And I said, "Well, let's Google it." So that's what we did, and that's the day that I remembered the power of a dream. Now, nothing else in my world changed, except now I knew what I was doing every day, and I knew why I was doing it. And I talked about it to anyone that would listen. So for the next 2.5 years, it was about this trip with my boy. He wrote the thank you notes to my customers. "Thank you for shopping with my mom, helping fund our special trip. We can't wait to go." He said he wasn't going to say "love, Braden," so he said "thanks, Braden." And last seminar year, I told you he had decided where we were going. So on May 29th, yes, 2 days before June started, we were gone for 2 weeks in June. Just 2 short months ago, we flew to Rome and Switzerland for a 2-week adventure. It was everything I dreamed of and more. And by the way, I'm still on a high from it. When we sat in our seats to take off on our first plane, we read letters that my hubby Josh had given us that were filled with excitement for our adventure. And we were armed with advice that several of my top sales director girlfriends' husbands had written out for Braden, including sleep when you get home and listen to your sweet mama. That's what they said. Listen to your sweet mama. She will have you ready for Mary Kay husband travel before you know it. So he is single. If any of you have a cute 14-year-old girl you plan on raising to be a Mary Kay top sales director, he's looking at me like this now. It's true though, it's true. Speaking of husbands, just a couple weeks ago, I remembered that the dreams have always been at the heart of my business all along. Before Mary Kay, I was in television news, and as a news producer, some of my biggest pain points were a lack of control over my schedule. After I started my business, I realized that my purpose points were coming true. Being able to have control over how much I worked, how many faces I saw per month, how that consistently doing that over and over was making a difference. And I got into motion. I would email myself my 6 most important lists. Thank you, Lisa Ann Harmon, for giving that to me. I knew what it was. So I would wake up the next morning, that email would arrive as if my boss was emailing me, telling me what to do the next day. I was committed to booking power hours and 30 faces every month, like my life depended on it. And I got into emotion too, because when Josh and I got engaged, I decided I would use the profits from my parties to help fund our honeymoon, which of all places was to Rome. So now I've taken both of my boys to one of my favorite cities in the world. Yeah, pretty cool. And from that incredible honeymoon trip, we have earned 14 more honeymoons so far in the form of top sales director trips, and I have the bracelet to prove it. Sorry if it's making noise up here. I can't think of a better travel buddy, life partner, father to our kids, and best friend and hubby than you, Josh. You've always let me be me. You have always respected my business, and you've loved our team, and you've always been by my side. And for those of you wondering how I can just talk about my trip with Braden, I'm here to tell you that in 2 years, I'm looking at you, Matt, 2 years, Josh and Maddie, our 12-year-old, will be going on their special trip. Location to be decided. She's thinking about Paris, I think maybe as one of the locations. Can't you see Maddie in Paris? I can. Josh, you make sure you keep an eye on her there. Since I'm still on a high from our trip though, I want to tell you a few highlights. So a lot of you have been coming up to me this seminar, you're like, tell us about the trip. Okay, here we go. First, the most precious piece of jewelry I own. I don't know if you saw it with my queen dress last night. It's this special. Braden and I got matching bracelets as we wandered through the Borghese Gardens, Rome's version of Central Park. And for the record, we weren't lost. We just didn't exactly know where we were. But the man who gave us the bracelets, and that's another story for another day, he tied them with 3 blessings. And as he walked away, we said that if something bad happened in the next few minutes, we were gonna rip them off, because we weren't sure if he really blessed them or not. You know, you never know. but only great things happen, so I've decided I'm gonna keep mine on until it falls apart. So, my most treasured piece of jewelry that I own, and I got a lot of jewelry here, thank you, Mary Kay. We dropped coins in the Trevi fountain, we ate our weight in pasta and pizza, and especially gelato for him and Aperol spritzes for me. My parents extended their NSD trip that they just happened to be in Greece, and so they took a short flight to Rome to spend a day or so with us, touring the Colosseum and the Forum, where Braden's Latin he's learned at their classical school paid off. Be the ball, right, Dad? And speaking of parents, I have to pause and say that it has always been my mom and dad's dream to travel the world. You two have shown what it looks like to live life big and to enjoy the people that you do it with big. And I love you both, big. So back to the trip. Bray and I did a nighttime ghost tour. We walked 23,000 steps one day, and his favorite, we took a cooking class. Ravioli, fettuccine, and tiramisu. That boy can cook. But you know my favorite? Well, our first day, when it was time for our touristy picture, our first touristy picture, in front of some landmark, and my mom lifted her phone to snap the picture. I felt his arm come over my shoulder and rest around my neck. And I would have worked 2.5 years just for that moment. When I heard this trip idea, Braden was 10 and he came up to my shoulder. And now he towers over me. I haven't missed a moment in his life. And from all the years when it was me putting my arm around him, to this next chapter where he puts his around me. Priceless. Love you, Bray. B and I navigated planes, trains, automobiles, gondolas, bicycles, luges, and trotty bikes. You'll have to Google that one, T-R-O-T-T-I. And we showed we could travel for 2 weeks with just carry-ons. Thank you very much. We also made it by train from the bustle of Rome to the immense beauty of Switzerland, our second leg of the trip. There we joined a tour group and we hiked to mountain peaks. By the way, there are walks and there are hikes, and this was a hike. But good news is we also fell asleep to the sounds of waterfalls below our window. He saw snow and had a snowball fight for the first time in his Florida life. We ate so much cheese, bread, and chocolate, and we weren't mad at that either. Braden also learned he's a great alphorn player. That's another thing you have to Google. And we showed off our kayaking skills. We may not have snow, but we've got water in Florida, so we can kayak. And my favorite moment, well, I have two, besides not dying on a trotty bike, seriously, Google it, or don't, was our first day biking. I sort of on purpose didn't get us e-bikes, which I later regretted slightly, but at this moment we were biking down the mountain. And the coolness of the morning air was still there, the sun was starting to warm us up. The sounds of the cows and their bells were all around, the charming houses adorned with flowers and the greenest grass you've ever seen were beside us as we whipped down the narrow paths. The snow-capped mountains were all around us, and I just took that moment in my mind's eye. I wanted to hold it in my heart. Now, I didn't want to scare anyone, so instead of yelling it out loud, I yelled in my heart, I am biking down a mountain in Switzerland with my boy! Dream come true. And of course, it wasn't just about biking down the mountains, because you also have to bike up them. And as you heard, no e-bikes for us. So in those grueling stretches, it brought back a truth bomb that my 12-year-old, Maddie girl, gave right before our trip. We were on a family bike ride, and as I mentioned, we live in Florida at sea level, and it's flat. All except one little hill on the path by our house. Maddie had led the way the first half, and then as we turned around, she said it was Braden's turn to lead. So it was Braden, then Maddie, then me, then Josh. As they started to get close to the hill, all of a sudden I heard her yell, "Speed up, Braden, it'll make the hill easier." Oh. How many of us see a hill in front of us and we stop, or we slow down, or we quit? That's not the way. You have more in you. Speed up now. Work hard now. Give it your all now. You'll be so glad you did. It will make the hills easier. Maddie girl, I love your brilliant mind. I love your big heart. Yeah, give it up for Maddie girl. And Matt, if Daddy will let us, maybe we can get a trip together too, just you and me. I also want to add that this is what our unit has done. We don't slow down when the obstacle comes. We speed up. We dig deep. We fight for it. The women in the Brigham unit, you are my heroes. You are my heart. A 6-time million-dollar unit, practically unheard of. It's consistency, it's discipline, it is so much fun, and as I said on the video, it is powerful. You have built your own dreams this year, and just to name a few, contributing to purchase land for a new home, guilt-free family dinners out, planning that graduation trip to St. Martin, or that Disney trip to experience the Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser, having extra money set aside for medical bills, vet bills, or fueling an avid sewing hobby, being able to consider summer camps, house cleaners, chicken coops, ukulele lessons, branding a family farm, and gifts for hubbies for Christmas and Father's Day that he might have normally paid for himself. These are great dreams and goals. Keep dreaming big. Keep being the leaders that you are. Keep shining bright. Keep uplifting each other and me. But for now, I have to finish my final favorite of the trip. On our last night, I sat in our hotel lobby after Braden went up to bed to listen to one more song that the pianist was playing. I saw him, the pianist, close his eyes and start to play What a Wonderful World. I closed my eyes too, and as I listened, I finally let myself cry. Such simple words, but so true. I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue and clouds of white, the bright, blessed day, the dark, sacred night. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of you all going by. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Yes, I think to myself, what a wonderful world. So what's next in this wonderful world? Well, for us, apparently our visit, Mom Win, to the Soccer FIFA Museum in Zurich on our trip means we're going to plan the World Cup. We're going to the World Cup here in the U.S. in 2026. Go U.S., football is life, and some other dreams in between. But it's also your turn. It's your turn to turn on your dreams, to turn your pain point into your purpose point. What I didn't realize was that my very private moment in my office 2.5 years ago with a very personal goal would unlock and unleash dreams in others. Braden was even telling his orthodontist about our trip, and the hygienist said she now has a dream to take her 4-year-old on son on a special trip. So many of you have messaged me to share your big dreams, like, these are from some of you. I am dreaming how to share trips like this with my girls. Or I'm now asking, what can my business pay for that my family desires? Another, we want to save for a down payment property in Juneau, Alaska, and a Tour de France trip, and the Olympics opening ceremony. Girl, me too. Someone else said, we're going to use a map to decide our U.S. vacation spots and one international country per year. One shared, I would love to take my husband to Paris. A mom shared, I would love to travel overseas with my teen. I now have confidence to travel abroad on my own and create a memorable experience with my son. I've had a fear of leaving the country, but you both make it look enjoyable and manageable. Kudos to you, Mama Bear, for creating a powerful experience for her little cub. And finally, someone said to me, this trip has made her heart sing. She said, thank you for daring greatly. These are all amazing goals and dreams. So whether it's your next lipstick sale, or turning a pain point into a purpose point, or just having permission to dream, you can either sleep on it, or you can wake up and live it. Thank you, and God bless the dreams that He has put in your heart. After all, Mary Kay said, if you can dream it, you can do it. I believe you can. Thank you.